The Board of Port Wardens on Tuesday, February 25th, 2025 will be called at 7 o'clock. In attendance tonight, we have Port Warden Jared Lerner, Mr. Siegel, and Mr. Anderson, and myself. From the city, we've got Mike Meekins, Carrie, Kimberly, and Mr. Adams has come in for this particular one as well. We have one interruption, not interruption, but I'm going to need a motion and a second to alter the agenda by removing port 2024-00027. For tonight, the application was withdrawn from tonight's meeting because of notification deadline issues and not meeting them. So the applicant has requested to withdraw it from this evening. So can I get a motion and a second so we can alter the agenda?
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda.
Thanks, Mr. Siegel. All right,
Second.
second for Mr. Lerner. All right, thank you very much. Now let's go ahead and actually approve the agenda with that alteration. I entertain a motion to approve and a second as well. Can I get a motion?
To approve.
All right, Mr. Lerner, thanks.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Siegel, thank you very much. All those in favor to approve the motion, state aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye. All right, it's unanimous. Thank you. All right. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from January 28th, 2025 meeting. Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda from.
All right, Mr. Siegel. All right, a second by Mr. Anderson. All those in favor, please state aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much. That was unanimous as well. All right. The next item on the agenda is the findings of fact from that January 28th meeting. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So we'll try to do them relatively quick. The findings of fact for application port 2024-00018, Bill Mertz, 318 Halsey Road. It was installed 6x10 platform, or pier, sorry, a 10x20 platform and a 13x15 boat lift, as well as a living shoreline. Is there a motion to approve the written findings of fact?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Lerner, thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, all right, Mr. Anderson, thank you very much. All right, all those in favor of approving the motion?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that was unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, so the motion passes. Let me just reiterate, the motion passes for port 2024-00018, Mr. Mertz at 318 Halsey. All right, findings of fact for port 2024-00026, Stephen Smith, 702 Warren Drive. Is there a motion to approve the findings of fact?
Motion to approve.
All right, thank you, Mr. Siegel. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Lerner, thank you very much. All those in favor of the motion to approve the written findings facts of port 2024-00026, Mr. Smith, 702 Warren Drive, please state aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, the motion passes. Findings of fact for application port 2025-00001, Ms. Diane Sweeney, 220 Wardor Drive, replacement of in-kind 7x280 foot pier, 19x20 platform, and a 3 foot 5 inch tapering down to 2 feet 5 inch finger pier. Is there a motion to approve the written findings of fact? And is there a second?
Motion to approve.
All right, Mr. Siegel, thanks. Can I get a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
Mr. Lerner, thank you very much. All right, all those in favor of the motion to approve the written findings of fact of port 2025-0001, Mrs. Sweeney, 2020 Wardor Drive, please state aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. That was unanimous as well. The motion passes. The last findings of fact for this evening is from application port 2025-0002. And it's Mr. Brett Davis, 1001 Moss Haven Court, and it's to install a 6x10 PWC lift on existing poles. Is there a motion to approve the written findings of fact?
I'll make that motion.
All right.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Siegel, thanks, and a second by Mr. Anderson. All right, all those in favor of the motion to approve the findings of facts report 2025-0002, Brett Davis, 1001 Moss Haven. Can I get an aye or yes?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. That's unanimous again. The motion passes. Okay, the next item under administrative, this is that once a year kind of item, and it's the approval on the agenda. It's the approval of the 2024 annual report. You all were sent that, and it's been submitted originally. I think it came from Brian, and then got submitted to the city already as unapproved at that point, but we need to approve it for the city. Can I get a motion to approve the 2024 annual report?
Motion to approve.
All right, Mr. Lerner. All right, can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Siegel, thank you very much. All those in favor of the motion to approve the written findings of fact, please state aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, so that motion passes. All right, the next item on the agenda is election of the chair position. We probably need to discuss a little bit. I'm willing to continue doing it if you guys so chose, but if you want to spread it around, let me know and we can, discuss. Or
To make a motion that Mr. Shapiro retain his chairmanship of the committee.
I second that.
all right, Carrie, I assume I would recuse myself, but do I just call for it, or how is there?
You can-
necessarily
You
have
can
to recuse yourself.
Okay. Okay,
But
I'm
just-
just making
just-
sure.
just so you guys know, you also have to do a vice chair as well.
Okay. All right,
I think
so
it's-
let's get me out of the way and then we'll move to the vice chair because I assume it's separate. All right, I need a motion, I'm sorry, I need a motion and a second. So, which I believe
You've already got the motion.
I've
in.
already, okay, great. All right, all those in favor of the motion to retain me as the Port Warden chair, can I get an aye or a yes?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. It's unanimous. All right, now we need to pick a co-chair. I believe,
Who's me?
okay, Scott, you were last. Okay.
Sure.
Can we, is
I'd
that,
like to continue to do it, but it's up to you guys. If somebody else wants to do it, step right up.
If you want to keep it, Scott, you were next in line.
I'd like to keep it, but it's, if
Okay.
you guys, if someone else wants to step up, please say the word.
And I make a motion, we keep Scott in that insufferable position as
I second.
vice
All right.
vice chair, as Carrie Smiles.
all right, thank you. So Harold made the motion, Mr. Lerner made the second, and all those in favor of retaining Scott Anderson, Port Warden, as Port Warden vice chair, correct? Is the title? Or please state aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye. Harold.
Yes, I said.
All right, thank you. All right,
Thank you,
that's
guys.
unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, that motion passes. We have the two positions for 2025 filled. All right, so new business. I've read it out or removed effectively the 2024. So let's move on to the first of tonight's element, which is the second on the original agenda. So the next item on the agenda is Port 2025-00003, John Shawm, I apologize, 72 Charles Street, and it was to reconstruct 35-foot, give or take, linear foot stone revetment and replace with in-kind existing shared pier. Can I have any parties? Mr. Durant, are you, Mr. Snyder, you're the only person with that property, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. All right, anyone planning to testify, please raise your right hand. All right, you do solemnly swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give to the Port Wardens is the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, thank you very much. As a preliminary matter, the board will accept into record the application packet, the staff report, and any public comments. Would the city staff member, Mr. Meekins, like to present any additional information?
No, I don't really have anything additional from what I've written in the staff report. Other than I might just note that there is one neighbor letter in support that we received in support of the application itself.
Okay, and it in support, but it didn't make that packet, I guess, right?
I believe
It's
I
at the
believe
bottom.
I believe it's the last page in the packet for.
Okay. Okay. I did remember saying that. All right. And my next question was going to be to confirm with you, Mike, if there's any existence of any other public comments, and that's effectively what you did. Okay,
Yes,
great.
yes, sir.
All right. All right, Mr. Snyder, if you can just do a super brief description, some qualifications, and the what's relevant to this particular application. It can be very brief. We've seen you before, but go ahead, and then if you can present the application.
Certainly. My name is Chris Snyder with Waterfront Engineer Design and Construction. We're an engineering firm out of Pasadena. We've been in business for over 30 years, doing all types of shoreline work, from piers, marinas, bulkheads, shoreline erosion control. You guys have seen me many of times. But other than that, I'll get started with this application if this meets your requirements, Mr. Shapiro, on terms of my introduction.
Yes, it absolutely does. Thank you very much. Give me 1 second to open up the packet and to just move my Google Earth on top of it. Tonight's meeting, 72 Charles. Okay, please go ahead. That's great.
All right. As Mr. Shapiro stated, the applicant, Mr. Schwam, located at 72 Charles Street, is seeking the approval to replace in kind the existing shared pier with Mr. Yeskel, located at 70 Charles Street. Waterfront Engineering Design and Construction, myself, have been retained by Mr. Yeskel and Mr. Schwam to coordinate the replacement of the existing pier. Further, the applicant, Mr. Schwam, is seeking to improve the condition of his shoreline by reconstructing approximately 35 feet of existing stone revetment to reduce flooding during high tide events. Both the proposed pier and the stone revetment have received authorization from the Maryland Department of the Environment at this time. Signs for this project were posted on February 13th, 2025. We've also, as Mr. Meekin stated, we received a letter of no objection from Mr. Brian Richardson, who is the adjacent property owner next to Mr. Schwam at 74 Charles Street. And right now, the existing stone structure that's at the property is under constructed, and this area is frequent to flooding. So we're seeking the approval to essentially rebuild this stone revetment and replace the pier in kind.
Okay. Let me get back to my. All right. So there's no public testimony, so we are good there. Rebuttal by the applicant, that's not an issue. Ask questions. Okay. The only question I have, and I don't want to be too persnickety with it, but when I look at Google Maps, it's blurry, so I'm not positive, but it looks like I see a piling, and I'm not sure, is that in the setback area? And don't get me wrong, I understand it's just it's not private property per se, and you're well within the harbor line, but I'm just curious, is there in fact a sort of on the west corner, is there a piling there?
Correct. Yes, there is an existing pile right on the inside of the lateral line on the west side of the applicant's property.
Okay, and I'm sure it's been there for 50 years.
Been there quite a while.
Yeah.
As another note, this project actually went through Port Wardens in 2015 for the construction of a boat lift and I believe another pile, which was approved but never constructed.
Okay.
So this recently has gone through Port Wardens, is what I'm getting at.
Okay. we do love when neighbors work together, and this has probably been a shared pier for years as well, I assume.
2002, I believe.
Okay. It looks good to me. I don't know who owns that piling. Normally you would want to not be within the setback. Um, they could get permission because it's not over the lateral line. But I don't know who would be in charge of the permission. It would be the city. And again, I'm not trying to be too persnickety, but it is something to contemplate. I agree it's been there for years as well. And it does make that side very usable. That was the only one thing that I sort of had a comment on. We certainly don't want to make something that's incredibly useful unusable. It's not like there's I believe a neighbor to object, but yeah.
Yeah, to build upon that, I agree with you. In normal circumstances, we avoid piles within the lateral line, their setbacks. However, given that this is a corner line at the transect of, I believe, Ann Lane and Charles Street, the reality is there's no opportunity for a pier in that corner regardless.
Right. And you're not altering that piling at all.
No.
Okay. Port Wardens. I really don't have that many other questions because, again, as far as the typical stuff, it's kosher to me, but for that little portion. What is I didn't look at the depth. I apologize. What kind of depth does he have to be able to looks pretty shallow, I guess, in that upper corner. So it's not like he can pull it forward that much. When I say
No,
forward,
and it does get shallow off of the existing stone, so we are limited in terms of we don't want to peer out too much. But I believe, and it's been some time, that it's roughly around 3 to 4 feet of water at the end of that pier. It might be
Okay.
greater than that.
All right, and only the pier and the floating sort of the square section at the end is getting replaced.
Correct. So the main pier section and the platform at the end are fixed. To be clear, they are fixed.
And they're not growing at all.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't notice. All right. Let me go ahead and ask the fellow Port Wardens what questions they have.
I, for one, don't have any.
Sorry, Scott, you broke up a little.
Sorry, I really don't have any questions. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Okay. I assume all questions have been asked at this point.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the application.
Okay. All right. Well, first let me declare the public hearing closed. Port 2025-0003. All right. So when we discuss amongst each other, well, with everyone included on YouTube, I sort of feel like it's a pre-existing grandfathered-ish piling that's actually on the correct side of the lateral line. It exists, but this improvement is not like a growth. It's almost an in-kind replacement of the exact structure that's there. And with all the factors involved, I feel like the setback we're not altering it from its current state. If we were growing the dock, or if we were doing something, adding to the dock in some additional way, then I might say, all right, we should really address this, or at least request the owners to get permission from the adjacent property holder, which is the city. But to me, again, or if it was over the lateral line, then I would have an issue. But its proximity to the setback, again, it's been there forever. That's I need to hear from other port wardens that if they feel the same way. Port wardens?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
no objection.
Okay. Mr. Anderson?
I agree with what you said.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and again, it meets code in as far as the harbor line, it meets code as far as its construction, which 15, 16, 20. The materials and erosion doesn't change. It's not a hazard to navigation in any way. It's again been there for quite a long time, and it's going to maintain that exact footprint. Yes, there's a little bit of element with that one thing, but like I said, it's not growing. It's been there. They're not altering it. And to me, there's it should be approved. All right. I'll entertain, is there any more discussion? Forwards.
No.
Okay.
Well,
All right. I'd entertain a motion to approve or deny the application in port.
I'll make the motion to approve, Ian.
Okay.
I'll start with that.
All right, guys. Mr. Siegel made the motion. Mr. Anderson seconded it. All right. And all those in favor of the motion to approve the application in port 2025-00003, Mr. John Schum, 72 Charles Street.
Aye.
Aye, yes. All right, Mr. Siegel, I'm sorry, I didn't catch. All right. I need an aye or yes or hand. All right, thank you. All right, so that was unanimous. All port wardens have approved. So the motion has been approved. Thank you. Let's move to the next one.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Schneider. The next item on the agenda is port 2025-00004, Pamela Braden, 9 Eastern Avenue, and it's to upgrade an existing lift to 12,000-pound rated lift, install 2 PWC lifts to be anchored with pier piles and cantilevered, and install 6,000-pound rated elevator lift and removal of existing sill as profile. Can I go ahead? Can we bring in all related parties to this application? Who is doing the presentation for this application? Mr. Rob? Okay, great. Thank you very much, Mr. Robinson. All right. Anyone planning to testify, please raise your right hand, and you do solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give to the port wardens is the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, thank you very much. As a preliminary matter, the board will accept into record the application packet and the staff report and any public comments. Would the city's staff to the board, Mr. Meekins, like to present any additional information?
Mr. Chair, no, I have nothing in addition to add from the report that I provided you. No public comments were received by the city. So other than that, from the city's point of view, the application and the report, staff report, stand as is.
Okay, thank you very much. I get Mr. Robinson, if you can do a brief description of your qualifications that are relevant to the application, and then we can roll right into the application.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for your time. We are a licensed marine contracting company, license number 418E. We're also a licensed Maryland home improvement contractor, license number 118286. We have myself, I have 10 years experience with shoreline design and engineering. And then we've got other members on our team that have done it for over 35 years. This is a project we had worked on to address some issues with an existing revetment that has since been repaired. And then this license is basically to upgrade an existing lift that is somewhat antiquated to 12,000 rated pounds rated. And then we also want to install 2 PWC lifts to be anchored to the specified piers and pilings, and then the 6,000 pound rated elevator lift. And then we have removed the existing sill profiles as delineated.
Okay. All right. As discussed, there was no public. There is no public testimony. I assume there were no public. There was no letters, so I assume there's no public testimony. Rebuttal's irrelevant. Okay. The only your details are really good in the application. The only one thing I was missing is the harbor line, which normally I understand sometimes it's hard to fit, especially when it's the harbor line may be so far out, but it's sometimes helpful maybe on the photo, the one that's the sat photo, but I know it's well within. I know you're replacing in the same, from what I understand, how much is this growing from the original one? Doesn't appear to be.
No, there's no channel word.
Right. It's not going channelward any additional. It didn't appear that way. I'm just sort of asking. To me, it's within. Let me open up to the other fellow port wardens. Do you have any questions, gentlemen?
Nothing.
I have nothing.
No,
Okay. All right. With nothing questions, I declare the public hearing on Port 2025-0004, Pamela Braden, 9 Eastern Avenue. So our discussion, I mean, to me, the engineering is well detailed, and it appears to be to spec. Obviously the lateral lines are a non-issue. The construction has been approved by the city, and the harbor line, as we said, the harbor line is so far out there, knowing the area, that's a non-issue. Obviously, this property has to each side is a non-issue. To me, it's a nice presentation. Port Wardens, do you have any thoughts or?
No.
Good.
Okay. All right. Okay. So just as a matter of sort of the code, just so we have some of them down there, again, it doesn't affect navigation at all. As most of us know, it's incredibly shallow there, so it's not super high trafficked. So as far as, port 15, 16, 20, it's a non-issue. There's no congestion that's going to be caused. It's replacing an existing element. So for section 15, 16, 30C, it's well within it. Of course, the harbor line setback, which 15, 18, 80 and 15, 18, 100, which are the lateral lines, it's perfect. As it was approved prior to where it's getting just simply replaced or improved with. So I would entertain a motion to approve or deny the application in Port 2025-0004, Pamela Braden, 9 Eastern Avenue.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Mr. Anderson, thank you. I guess, can I get a second? All right, Mr.
Second.
Loney, thank you very much. All those in favor to approve the motion in Port 2025-0004, please state aye or yes.
aye.
Aye. All right, thank you very much. That was unanimous. All right, the application passes. Thank you very much. All right, thank you. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
Do you
Okay.
get the, do you get the same pay as previous year, or do you get a
Yeah,
raise?
yeah, yes, retirement money. Yes, thank you. No, this is all wonderfully volunteer for anyone listening.
Right.
All right. So next regular meeting will be, this is the one date I didn't update in my script. It'll be March
25th.
25th. Fantastic. All right. So the next regular meeting will be March 25th. And there being no other items on the agenda, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, Mr. Anderson, thank you.
Second.
All right, Mr. Siegel, thank you very much. All right, all those in favor of adjourning, please state aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that is unanimous. Thank you very much. Hearing no opposition, the meeting is adjourned. City people, thank you so much for helping. Nice